The Chieftain Mark 6 is one of the few tanks that can say it has withstood power creep, and pretty well at that. It carries a gun with 3,167 damage per minute, enough to easily even deal with tier 10 mediums today, which is pretty insane. It's got ridiculous aiming time, fantastic dispersion, and some of the best shell velocity in tier 10. Extremely flexible with 10 degrees of gun depression, 20 degrees of gun elevation, a great top speed of 42 kilometers per hour, and even some very strong hull armor and turret armor. There really is no massive downside to the Chieftain Mark 6 apart from its paper-thin sides, and as well, pretty weak turret if you do have enough penetration to butter through it. But let's be honest, a vehicle like the Mark 6 that has been in the game for so long, you would think would really hurt from power creep. I mean, look at vehicles like the Badger, look at the AIM-X30B, look at the 121B. These tanks have needed buffs, and some of them still do need buffs. And over here, the Mark 6 is still chugging along with no problems whatsoever. There's one thing, though, I wanted to talk about in today's video before we get into the gameplay that I doubt any of you knew about the Chieftain Mark 6, and that is its camouflage rating. If we make our way over to Blitzhanger statistics, you will notice that the Chieftain Mark 6 has all green bars when it comes to the camouflage, and that is because the Chieftain is the only tier 10 heavy tank that can sit in a bush and not be detected for at least a decent chunk of distance. Bushes do not count as 100% camo. So if you're ever wondering why you got spotted behind a bush with your 183, that is because the 183's camouflage is absolutely atrocious, and bushes will not provide you enough camo so that you won't be spotted through them at a certain distance. They help a lot. It's just like getting a free camouflage net, but they will not protect you always. When using heavy tanks, you want to be very careful when you're using bushes because you can be spotted by light tanks and other mediums through them. But the Mark 6 is the only tier 10 heavy that can actually sit in a bush and quite comfortably not be spotted by enemy opponents. So let's get into some battles with the Mark 6 and see just exactly what it can still do 5 or even 6 years later after it was introduced into the game. I do want to point out, while this tank being in stores right now may have been the inspiration for today's video, I would not suggest to go out and buy this tank for 20,000 gold. Now, why is that? It's down to the fact that you can get this tank cheaper every Christmas. It seems like Wargaming puts this vehicle in the Blitz Fair auctions, and with the gold boxes, you can easily get your hands on a vehicle like the Mark 6 for $20. Why would you buy the tank now for $70 if you can get it literally 3 times cheaper every Christmas? I always question this about people. They're like, I picked up the Mark 6 finally. I'm like, you could have saved a lot of money during Christmas and gotten other tanks for that money you didn't spend. I always question that. So please, be smart with your money because it's not something that comes around all the time. It doesn't grow on a tree, although technically it does grow on a tree. Well, either way, you get the point. Don't waste your money on something you don't need to right now. Unless you've got a death sentence and you need to get this tank within the next 5 months, you're really not going to need it right now. But either way, let's see. We got the AIM-X50B off to the side, and well, depending on what that guy does, I'm going to be sitting over here, and yeah, what do they have? They got an E100, the 50B we already know about. Okay, well, let me just see if I can spot some people. There you go. That's more what I was expecting. E100 pushing up. Now, the thing about the Mark 6 is that its hull armor is quite poor. If you have the lower plate exposed, you can quite easily penetrate it. But if you're using it like this, hull down on a ridgeline, then the vehicle will work very well. So it all depends on how you use the Mark 6 and where you position it. Now, you can see the gun being absolutely fantastic here. I do rate the Mark 6's gun as one of the best guns in tier 10. In fact, every time I make a video on it, I call it the best gun in tier 10. You can see it has downsides like penetration not being amazing, but penetration still plenty to cut through an E100 turret on flat ground, and because I've got so much more damage per minute than the C100, yeah, he's in a bit of a tricky situation now, isn't he? There's a nice roll for 405, we reload again, and here goes the 100, about to take another shell into his lower plate for 418. One thing a lot of people also might not know about the Mark 6 is that it has really good premium damage. It's one of the highest damage premium shells for a 400 alpha gun. I think it's like 360 or 370 instead of losing a lot more like you normally do. There you go, another nice tap into that E100. We are already over 3,000 damage. I just want to point that out. Now, while my team may be bleeding a heck ton of hit points here, I'm doing the best I can. I don't want to take a big slap from the C-100, but we were able to bounce it, and because we were being tunneled by that 50B, my teammates were able to finish him off. So now, well, we're fine. I mean, at this point, this should be a pretty easy win. We got the Waffenträger Panzer IV pushing on my teammate, and we're going to shoot a Hess shell right into the rear. And yes, you heard that. This tank does get high explosive squash head ammunition, which means that I can butter right through really any opponent, side or rear. There you go. We're up to 4,600 damage, probably a bit more because of that RAM. I mean, just think about how easy this game was. I used my DPM, I used my fantastic accuracy, my pretty good pen, and I was able to deal with a lot of enemy opponents. Everybody always complains that the MK.6's gun isn't great because of the fact that it only shoots APCR, but as you saw, it really was not a struggle. I easily cut through all the opponents in front of me. We bounced one shell because the E-100 was able to angle its turret. But we're in the day and age now of Blitz where most people don't understand how to angle their vehicles and play them correctly, so a vehicle like the MK.6 does even better at penetrating enemy weak spots. That was 4,800 damage in what seemed to be an easy, clean sweep on the enemy side. So let's see if we can do that one more time and get out another incredibly easy win, or, well, I guess we'll find out. The battle almost was bad. I was lucky the E-100 wasn't the best. If he had been able to shoot my lower plate twice, that could have been a much harder battle, as I would have been maybe only about 800 health at the end of that game. So it all depends on the opponents you fight. But as long as you use the vehicle on a ridgeline and you use the 10 degrees of gun depression, you will be quite well off. Now, there is a hatch on the roof, and you got to be careful about that hatch. Any skilled player will hit it, I would say 50-50. You still got to wiggle the tank, and you will get misses here and there from it, but it's quite large. You might think that it's spaced armor, part of the hatch, but no. The entire thing, that entire top, is a penetrable weak spot. So be very, 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 very when you showcase the roof of this tank. So what does the enemy team have? They got an MK.6 they have an M48 patent, and I actually saw that 50B before, so that team's going to be down one player, basically. Either way, they got that 50B, they got the Mouse, Sheridan, Conway 5041, and a Tortoise. Well, looks like their team is going to B, so this should be a pretty easy win. As I made a video on maybe a month ago or so, I talked about why you never ever want to push town on Nube. Having the height advantage over your opponents is amazing, and that's exactly what I'm going to try and do right here. So we're going to sit still, which should give me a little bit better camouflage. There you go. There's the 54E1. You can see that fantastic shell velocity coming in play there. I am going to back up, though, because, yeah, if I'm detected and they got, like, the Conway sitting back there, I don't want to bleed a lot of my health when I don't need to. So let's push over here, and now we should be able to shoot at a vehicle like that. Mouse, hello, Mr. Mouse. Fire. Oh, that is what happens when you get fantastic dispersion. The MK.6 is able to easily get massive payoffs, and let's go for another shot. Oh, just missed the Mouse's turret by a small inch. But we're all good anyway. I'm still holding this bridge. Unless our team panics, we should be fine. So let's see. We got the Mouse. Over towards this side is where I would expect to see the enemies start to pour around. So I guess we'll find out, right? There's the MK.50B. Well, I'm going to push over here. There you go. That's more what I was expecting. There's the Conway. Nice, easy shot into his vehicle. I'm hiding my weak spots with the bridge. And wow, that 50B. As I said, that 50B was basically a negative player on their team. So because of that, yeah, he's basically dead. All right, so while that's going on, is there anybody off to my side that I need to worry about? Ooh, that is a Tortoise, and Tortoises can be quite nasty. Oh, wow. They got a lot more than you would think. Okay, well, I was correct on them pushing over here, but it looks like my timing on when I should have pushed was just a bit off. All right, well, we got the Sheridan pushing off to the side. Tortoise isn't too much of a threat right now, and our team is doing a fantastic job pushing on them. This is just a great example showcasing why you never, ever want to... Well, you never want to push not on the bridge. I mean, this Conway, I don't know, he penned me. What will I ever do? Darn. All right, well, the Tortoise isn't really a threat anymore, and this Conway, well, the Conway should be a pretty easy penetration as long as we're able to shoot. But there is a Sheridan who got a pretty beefy tap into me. I actually don't have support, but it's all fine because we should be able to do our own support here. So I can't get a shell into the Conway just yet, but one more shell into the Sheridan, and there you go. Nice tap into that Sheridan. Easy, easy, easy. I am a little worried, though, at this moment. Let's back up. I might die. I mean, ooh, we actually got the bounce. How nice. All right, Mr. Sheridan. Hello. How are you doing, good sir? I'm going to finish you off. Goodbye. Haha. Alright, there you go. So we were able to clear the enemy Sheridan and get into cover. I may have a damaged Amarak, but you can see even with a damaged Amarak, my reload really doesn't seem that bad. 13 seconds is not great, but it could be much, much worse. Alright, let's push over here. We should be able to get one shell into this Conway. There you go. 190 damage. Better than nothing, especially with the 4005 right there. And this battle may not have seemed like I did much, but it may surprise you to see I actually did over 3,000 damage once again. The MK.6 is truly just an amazing tank. Its gun is great, its mobility is fantastic for what it is. There's no downside to this tank. There's many people out there that try to claim the MK.6 has lost its spark. It hasn't. It really has not. This is an amazing tank to play, and as I said, while this review may be very, very pro MK.6, as every review on my MK.6 will be, please do wait for this tank to come out during Christmas, and you can get it way cheaper. If you bought it now, I'm warning you, you're going to regret it. But hopefully you enjoyed today's video, and if you'd like to see more like it, I'll be seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye!